On June 22nd, the BC legislature will finally be recalled for what could be Premier Christy Clark's last task in office, delivering the throne speech that could topple her government in a confidence vote. But with developments over the past week or so, the takeover of power by the Frankenstein combination of the New Democrats, supported by the Green Party, may not be as simple nor smooth as they once thought. I mentioned this in some of my post-election prognostication, that with the margins being so thin on either side, the Liberals holding 43 seats, the NDP 41, supported by 3 Greens to bring them to that razor-thin one-seat majority, but then we all know legislatures need a speaker. So that's been the issue that has been the topic du jour this week, and now the sides, the leaders, are getting a little testy over how the whole speakership is going to work, which party they're going to come from, and will they really be breaking with decades of precedent and force the speakership to become a hyper-partisan position, breaking every tie in the legislature with that deciding vote for the NDP Green government. If that sounds about as untenable as possible, that's because it is. And the Greens and NDP know this. But let's just step back and go through the series of events that is likely to unfold when the legislature is recalled. Christy Clark and the BC Liberals will put forward a throne speech on the 22nd. And in order to do so, the Liberals must put up a speaker for the new session. However, if things go as expected and the Clark government loses the confidence vote on the throne speech after the NDP and Greens team up to vote it down 44-42, the Liberals have indicated their speaker will simply resign, which is totally within the rules, and that will force the NDP or Greens to find their own speaker from within their ranks of MLAs. The problem is, no one seemed to explain this to Green Party leader Andrew Weaver, who indicated that during his negotiations with the NDP that John Horgan assured him the NDP would convince the BC Liberals to put up a speaker for the entire 4-year term of the legislature. But why on earth would they do that? Why would they agree to something unconventional when it's always up to the government to put up a speaker? And why would they simply let the NDP and Greens have their way here? I'm glad the BC Liberals and Christy Clark are standing their ground on this issue. Weaver and Horgan appear to be angered by this last-minute foil to their rush for power, accusing the Liberals of breaking with tradition, despite there being no tradition at all of a speaker, let alone a speaker who would become extremely partisan, coming from the opposition benches. So I can only conclude that this means we will be facing another snap election in BC sooner than later. And while that presents an opportunity to restore order in BC and end this Frankenstein NDP Green agreement, it also could be very tough for Christy Clark to change the minds of voters, especially here in the Metro Vancouver area, after only a few months since the last election. She's going to need to make bold moves to win back some seats in Surrey, Burnaby, and Vancouver. The easiest way for her to do that? Well, I think there are 2 things. First, get serious about the dark money and money laundering that's happening within the real estate market in Metro Vancouver. Fix this problem of low-income earners owning multi-million-dollar mansions yet claiming benefits they don't really contribute towards because they don't pay very much in income taxes. The other bold move Clark can make is to ensure she and the BC Liberals perform better in this snap election is by taking the opportunity during the throne speech to address the single biggest issue that cost them the last election, and it has to be a comprehensive fix of campaign financing. Even die-hard BC Liberal supporters know this issue cost them votes last election. Sure, raising big money from big corporate and big real estate interests may have padded the coffers to prepare the party for the last election, but ultimately, I have to say, I think it cost them more votes than it bought them. Nobody in this province thinks for 1 minute that the BC Liberal Party wasn't being heavily influenced by these donations in their policies. So, Christy Clark, come out and kill that narrative once and for all, and you could have yourself another majority government before the end of the year. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson. Like I said, we could be seeing another election in BC before the end of the year, so make sure you keep it locked to the Rebel Canada YouTube page for all your updates from the left coast.